Hello, subscribers! Welcome to part 6 in my continuing review of In the Beginning, the Bible Stories. In our last episode, we left off with the birth of Isaac to Abraham. And in this episode, we go back a few years to see what Lot was doing this entire time. And it starts out not too bad and being pretty accurate to the text.
Let us part here. If you wish to go to the left, then I shall go to the right. If you wish to go to the right, then I shall take the way to the left. Whichever way you choose, the fact that we are all brothers shall never change.
Oh, I completely forgot. They changed Abraham's voice in this one. I don't know why that happened, but he's got a different voice actor now. It doesn't really matter much, since Abraham doesn't show up much in this episode. But anyway, it starts out well enough. Not paraphrasing too much. Sticking to the original story close enough that the little bit of paraphrase they throw in didn't really matter. My first issue is that after that scene, I kid you not, less than a minute later, they have a flashback about that same scene.
Let us part here. If you wish to go to the left, then I shall go to the right. If you wish to go to the right, then I shall take the way to the left.
Like, seriously, the time in which it took between me showing you the first clip and showing you the second clip is probably very similar to the amount of time you have in the anime itself. That was silly, and really just wasted time they could have spent in other ways. Next, we have the famous scene where Abraham bargains for the lives of the righteous in Sodom and Gomorrah. And that scene plays pretty well and close to the text, except one part.
It is filled with the worst evils of this world. This fruit is called the grapes of Sodom. It comes from a tree that grows by the Dead Sea. It may look beautiful, but it is filled with poison. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are like these apples. They are poisoned. Abraham, those cities may soon be destroyed by the righteous justice of our Lord, the only God.
None of that is in the text. Also, it's becoming clear to me something else they're doing. They keep saying the only God. While it is clear that God is the only God, I mean clear in the text, it's not actually stated like that. God does not waste time arguing against whether or not other gods are real or not. If he brings them up, he'll just say they're dead and he is the living God. That's as close to a statement as you really get to God actually saying he's the only God. More often than not, he will, as if to say for the sake of argument, other gods exist. He'll just let people believe what they want as long as they follow him. So really, it would seem like God is more interested in you serving the one true living God rather than you just believing that he is the only real God. Believe what you want, but serve him. And where you put your treasure, your heart will follow. Now, in the last episode, I mentioned how they portrayed Abraham's faith as a little too strong for the time frame that he was in during his life. But they also technically misrepresent Lot's character.
What are you praying for every day?
I'm praying for the well-being of my family, and I'm asking the Almighty to give you the strength to come with me into the desert.
Now, why are you talking about the desert? We can live here much happier than some tent in the desert.
I can't stand living in the city anymore.
Lot, each time you open your mouth, you say the same thing. I've had enough of the desert. I'll never go back to that dry, barren land.
Can't you understand? No one in this city worships the true God.
Now, this is complicated because, on the one hand, Lot was righteous and did serve God, but he did not want to leave Sodom. He did not want to go back to the desert. Even after he was taken out of Sodom, he said, "No, I don't want to go to the wilderness. Send me to that city over there." So they got Lot's frustration at Sodom correct, but not his willingness to stay. Now, it does make sense what they did with Lot's wife, since she does turn around and turn to a pillar of salt. So it makes sense to build up her character as really not wanting to leave. But that doesn't mean you have to portray Lot as wanting to leave. And then they sort of skipped over one of the most memorable scenes about Lot and his character and the state of the city.
The sole absolute God of heaven and earth, whom you love, will destroy this city with fire and inflict terrible punishment on its citizens. Lot, you are the only one in this city who believes in our unseen God. Even if the city is destroyed, you and your family shall be spared.
But we've been living here very happily.
Lot, when the sun sets, you must take all of your loved ones away from this city. You must go straight into the desert. You must run for your lives. Do not look back. And do not stop in the valleys. Run to the hills, so you will not be killed.
The birds are leaving. They're afraid.
So, two things they skipped over. One, obviously, well, maybe three things they skipped over. One, obviously, the city is not banging on his door, asking to have sex with those people he just invited into his house. Two, he's obviously, since they skipped that part, he's not offering up his daughters in their place. And three, the angels don't blind anyone and then forcibly take Lot out of the city. They actually give him time to just leave. That's not how it goes. What I do like about this scene, though, is when Lot's wife speaks up, the angels just ignore her and keep talking to Lot. I find that amusing. Like, she clearly has a vanity problem, which you don't see in any of the clips I gave you exactly. She does have a mirror that's precious to her. So she has a vanity problem, and it's just, I forget the word. It's like poetic justice. This vain person is just ignored. Nope, not you. We're not talking to you. We're talking to your husband. He's in charge. Anyway, the next thing they get wrong, and they have no reason to get this wrong, is basic concept of how marriage works.
So, your husband's decided not to come. Well, it is too bad, but we have no choice. Huge balls of fire will soon rain down on this city. We do not have a minute to spare. Quickly now.
They cannot just leave their husbands like that. Lot's daughters were virgins. They were not married. If he had any daughters that were married, they would not have left the city, because they would have been under the charge of their husbands. And if their husband didn't leave, then neither did they. All this tells me that they're probably going to skip over the part of the story where Lot gets drunk and sleeps with his daughters. I have not watched the next episode yet, so I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'm pretty confident they're going to skip over that. They certainly didn't get to it in this episode. At the end of this episode, Lot rejoins with Abraham, which again is not what happened in the text. So that's episode 6. Now, I haven't watched episode 7, but I would imagine it probably focuses on Isaac and probably how he ended up meeting Rebecca. That is my guess. So, see you next time to see if my guess is correct. Bye-bye.